Yo, 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 what's going on? What's going on? It's been a minute. Been a minute. But we back at it, man. What's up, bro?
Man, nothing much, man. Everybody, welcome to Yah'm saying podcast.
Mm,
Again, this is where we come and we try to break down some of the myths and some of the issues down in the Black community, and we try to really put some context and some historical information behind it.
yeah,
Thank you for being here.
yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate that intro, bro. Um, a lot of things are going on. Took a little break. I take a little mental break. Uh, you know, kind of decompress, and stuff like that, man. I disconnect, you know, from media, social media and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Get my mind right. But we back, man.
Yeah.
We back. Yeah.
Tonight's topic, we're just gonna sit back and talk about Black patriarchy, man.
Hmm.
We're probably going to get into the myths of it and people, black men believing that they are in a pecking order after white men,
Hmm.
and really trying to have a discussion behind the conversations that Barack Obama was trying to have with black men, and really discuss the points that he was trying to make, and that what we see in our society and what we have seen that has been perpetuated through history,
Hmm.
um, time and time again through elections. What we see, the habits of some black men when they show up, and the toxic nature that they end up showing up.
Hmm. Yeah, man. I think one of the helpful things, we start with a definition. You know what I mean? A definition of patriarchy. Patriarchy is a social system that gives men power over women and other genders. Its impact can be seen in many aspects of modern life, including politics, economics, culture, education, employment, and income. Um, and one of the ways that we've seen patriarchy kind of rear its head was during the feminist movement during the 1970s, 1980s. You know what I mean? When women were entering into the workplace during the 1970s, they're supposed to sign a equal rights amendment that kind of went nowhere because of women, patriarchy. You know what I mean? And things of that nature. So generally, when we're having these conversations about patriarchy, it is about power. Who's who is seen as the head, and of course there's all these conversations around roles, you know what I'm saying, roles and things of that nature. Religion is written from a male perspective, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of people use religion as why man needs to be in the lead and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But again, when you break it down, like religion is written from a male perspective, you know what I'm saying? We call the God he. We have no evidence of that other than what's in a book written by men because women couldn't write. You know what I mean? At that time, you know what I'm saying? In a lot of ways. So yeah, man. Yeah. So
Yeah.
whatever. Go ahead, bro.
No, no. So if anybody sat and watched the Obama, uh, I would call it more or less like a meetup um, group. He was trying to ask the question to black men: what is it with black men that whenever we see a woman in a quote unquote powerful position, that we tend to have anxieties about?
Hmm.
And I personally thought it was a good question,
That's a great
right?
question.
Because as we've seen in society, um, that women are becoming, especially black women, are becoming more educated, right? Um, Obtaining more degrees than any other group or race in America, which means that we will see them in more leadership positions than we
Hmm.
see black men, white men, and so on and so on.
Mm,
or I don't want to say white men, but I would say in 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 competition of white men.
mhm,
Um, and what I sat back and perceived that to like black men had we're at a crossroad, right?
mhm,
Um, it's one of the moments in like whenever you face adversity, whenever you face the moment that you probably should take some time out to think and process and plan, black men are at this moment where we can either process, plan, and think through our options, or we can go into rage and destruction, right? And what I see black men do is the same thing that white men do, is go into destruction and rage. Because you would see in the Ohio situation where they were saying, the immigrants were eating cats and dogs and so forth, so
mhm,
forth. What you seen was white men then perpetuate um, a a lie on immigrant community, because in that community, what they don't tell you is that they were ravaged by opioids.
mhm,
So a lot of white people in that community have not been achieving what they believe that they are deserving
mhm,
in
mm,
a,
mm,
but they never stopped and thought about their own personal decisions, right? And black men are we are in this same boat, because we we are not holding ourselves accountable, just like how we see white, the white counterparts not do. Because
mhm,
again, when you buy into the premise of white supremacy and the idea of white supremacy in a pecking order, you end up taking on the characteristics of your oppressor.
mhm. Yeah.
And black men do not understand that that's dangerous. That's dangerous for us,
Mhm,
because although we are taking on our oppressors' identity,
mhm.
um, their ideas, and so on, we face the most as far as incarceration, as far as job loss, as far as like economic disparity. We face the most out of every group. So that idea just does not benefit us by following or imitating white men.
Yeah. Mhm,
When I was talking to my wife, that black men don't understand is that black women are socially accepted when you look at data, right? In leadership roles and so forth, because of their education, right?
mm,
It's just what it is. They are just way more educated in those spaces. That does not mean that they don't face discrimination and so forth. We're just dealing with this one avenue, right? And in this avenue, black men don't understand that black women, when they are in this position, they are looking for black men to come in the door. That
yeah.
that is the intersectionality of the whole thought, is
Yep.
that they're trying to hold the door open for us, but
Mhm.
yet we we are on the other side of the door trying to pull it closed to
Mhm.
open up another door.
Open up, yeah. It's like, I can open up the door myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm,
And this is the inherent problem, psychologically, socially, and so on, in our community.
mhm,
Because where I come from, look, man, I can hear 101 excuses from cats on the block on so forth, and like they never thought about like why you still 40 years old hanging out on the corner?
You know,
Why you
black.
still 40 years old and thinking that working, you know, working at McDonald's or whatever it may be is okay?
Mhm,
When you personally, and this is where like, yeah, it's not a bootstrap argument,
mhm.
but when you narrow it all down, we are responsible for our actions
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
in this country, in a capitalistic society. You have to be able to play this game, and to even play this game, that means that you have to take some accountability in your action, which means you can wake up tomorrow and you can sit back and say, you know what? I am not going to continue to work at McDonald's for another year. Here is my plan. I have never heard a black man say that. As
Yeah.
many conversations I have had,
Mm,
all I have heard was a bunch of complaining and that it's someone else's fault,
mhm.
that it's this that's going on, and and if you get too deep into the political argument, then it's the libs' fault.
Right. Mhm,
All of this nonsense,
mhm,
because at the end of the day, there's no self accountability in our community
mm.
when it
Yeah,
comes to achieving things in a capitalistic society.
yeah, yeah. I think that, you know, you make some good points, man. And, when it comes to black males, um, we know that there look, black people being raised in a white supremacist society has psychological effects on us. You know what I mean? We know this, right? Man, there's a book that I'm looking at right now called Black Skin, White Mask. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Because at the end of the day, there are a black people are an ethnic group that's racialized. We have to see ourselves as an ethnic group in order to kind of combat white supremacy, right?
mhm,
And white supremacist thought and white supremacist ideals, you know what I mean? Because white supremacy tells us who we are, right? Rather than us as the ethnic group saying, no, this is who we are, and this is how you need to then respond and adapt and change for us. You dig what I'm saying?
mhm,
And so, you know, we've had we've had generation after generation after generation of black men who have tried to assimilate into American society, but they're never going to be able to get to that pinnacle, which is that pinnacle of whiteness, right? Because whiteness accepts of course, the original white folks who were called wasps,
mhm,
white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. You know what I mean? There's not that many of them today. But what whiteness said was that, okay, well, Italians, you can be white. Greeks, you can be white. If you're from the Slavics, you can be white. If you're Russian, you can be white. It get rid of culture and it get rid of ethnicity.
mhm,
That's what whiteness does. It get rid of culture and it get rid of ethnicity. Um, and what whiteness does is it makes you accept the position of power, right?
mhm,
The position
mhm,
of power, which is seeing white males at the top, right?
mhm,
White males president, white males judges, white male CEOs, white male sheriffs, and at one point, it was white males who were principals of schools, white male superintendents, white male teachers, white male managers at factories and jobs. Unions were white. You know what I'm saying? So,
mhm,
you know, when it comes to like black males growing up in that, yes, you start to adapt a lot of the the ideas of power.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So then, how does that looks in black in black culture, right? Usually, black churches, only black males can be pastors. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? The figureheads and things of that nature. People who running for office. Black males. Hey, I'm only gonna vote for a black man. You know what I'm saying? That's
mhm,
and that's what Obama was kind of talking about. Black males who can't. and I look at it as, and it's just my opinion, as you know, and Obama's talking about those black males. The problem is the problem is that black males, some of these black males who look at Vice President Kamala Harris and either say she's not black, right,
Mhm,
which is
mhm.
false,
Yeah.
and also look at her running for president. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, they'll make up some excuse. You know, they'll bring up some crap. You know, that's already been debunked. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
You know, about her when she was the attorney general. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Because
mhm.
at the end of the day, they can't imagine anybody sitting in the president other than a white man,
Yeah.
right? And this is where you have black people, particularly black males, who were turning against Obama. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Right?
mhm.
Like they can't envision a world where black people not only are in positions of power, but black people, particularly black males, have agency, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we can go in there and we can say, hey, we want to make the world, we want to make America a better place. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that my ethnic group is taken care of too. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. It's the same thing that you see with the arguments of the Democrat Party, right? You
hmm
you have a party who, when you look at the members of the party, who is about 42%
hmm
of black or people of color,
hmm
and the rest are white or
hmm
white adjacent, right? And people don't understand that when you look at the Republican Party, you literally have less than 1% of the party black.
and it's
So
majority,
so
it's majority white males.
yeah, majority white males, predominantly white, and
Trump's whole
to
cabinet,
hear
nothing but white males.
nothing but white males.
Uh,
But and well, Amber Rose and not Amber Rose. I can't remember her name. Um, the lady that was in the cabinet, she ended up quitting because
oh,
she
you're talking Manigault. She's pretty too. I can't
yeah
remember
yeah.
her name.
Um, until she found out that Trump was saying some racist stuff.
Right,
Uh,
right.
be- um, but then she wanted to say something
hmm
because she was trying to capitalize off her book.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like to hear black males describe the situation, you really realize how delusional they are,
Yeah, some of them are.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and they have never sat with the fact of like, why would I think that a a party of majority white folk
Mhm.
would have my best interest over the people of my own group.
My own people, right? The
Yeah,
80,
my
80
own people.
90% of black
I,
women, 85% of black men.
yeah, yeah. Like
Huh?
why would I think that
How does that make
that
sense?
would be the scenario?
Right. But that's a solution. Like,
Yeah,
huh? I said, how's that make sense?
yeah. And again, people don't understand the psychological dancing that you have to do to get to that point.
hmm
The cognitive dissonance that you
hmm
have to be able to throw some truths out,
hmm hmm
because these are truths that you can't hide, right? These are truths like you can't hide the fact of the party demographics, right? You
hmm
just can't hide that.
hmm
You can't hide the fact of that every legislation that is from one party with this demographic also do case studies on the effectiveness of their bills, which black people are proportionally beneficial of.
hmm
And on the other side, they also do the same study, but they tend to vote opposite.
hmm
These are things that we know to be true. And to get to a place to ignore them
Yeah, I think
is baffling.
yeah, I think that, like there are again there are black, and and I think that our problem, the issue lies within this idea within black people, right? I'm reading shoot, I just ordered a book, man, thanks to Dr. Ham, called by David Walker. It was written in 1829. It's called The Appeal to Colored Citizens of the World. And in part of that book, he basically says, like, look, if you are black, or if you are black or of African descent, and you think that the best thing for you is to be as your oppressors, or that we should not fight against the oppressors for our own freedoms and our own rights, then you need to go over there and
Mhm,
leave the rest of us alone. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? And I know I mentioned it several times, you know what I mean, on this program, this platform, but you know what I mean, I think we have to adopt that mentality. The problem is that, you know what I mean, look, and I understand that, and I think that the deeper root of the reason why we have these issues with black males is because how black males went through the education system. I'm going on a tangent. Hopefully I can come back. But like during the education system, black males, you know what I mean? Black males who were told that they were fidgety,
mhm,
told that they were not attentive, told that they, couldn't read well or something like that. They got put in special ed classes.
mhm,
Meanwhile, white boys who were with the same descriptors, they didn't get put in special ed classes.
mhm.
They got special attention. You dig what I'm saying? And so I think what we are seeing is the outcome of that. You know what I'm saying? Outcome of black males going through an education system, being pushed aside by the education system, and then being pushed aside by society in so many ways. But through it all, black males end up making money. You know what I mean? In some way, shape, or form. But it has, but they have a certain viewpoint of the world where they can't contextualize. They can't
Mhm.
contextualize why it is that they think the way that they think, right?
Yeah.
Why it is that they can't you know put, I don't want to say put two and two together, but basically say, hey, okay, let me contextualize what it is that we are going through as in a group, you know what I mean, and go
Mhm.
that way. That's because we had so many individual, or they were treated as individuals through the school system, and so they still see themselves as individuals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's my
So, well, you describe as a person who went through the special ed system, right?
thing.
You literally describe everything that I seen.
Mhm.
Like going through there, I remember in first grade, and I'll never forget this teacher, Miss Combs. She probably gone at this point in time, but she pulled me aside, and we just moved from South Carolina.
Mhm.
And for me, now that I'm older, it was a traumatic situation
Mhm.
because I don't know why the hell we moved.
Mhm. Mhm.
And here we are, we're in a whole nother place
Mhm.
that we're just not familiar with. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, and I wouldn't say nothing. I would literally show up to class and sit in the back of the room
Yeah.
and put my head down, and for long, she was just like, I don't know what's wrong with
Mhm.
you. It came at the end of the year, and that's when her mom, they met, did their thing, and so forth. Um, and this was shortly after I stole this boy's transformer. And it got sent to the office, but like in that moment, that was the moment that literally changed the rest of my life. So
Mhm.
so instead of like really giving me the help, I didn't receive the help. What I
Right.
did was just got pushed aside.
Yeah, you ain't receive the resources.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what I was really dealing with is a unfamiliar environment.
Right. It's traumatic. Traumatized, traumatic experience. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Being
and
moved and to add further context, I was just thinking about this the other day. When we moved from South Carolina to Delaware, we still had our southern accents.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so people would kind of like always tell us we're different because we
Mhm,
still had our southern accents, man. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? And yeah, for some reason I was thinking about that the other day because I think
No,
about
no.
my southern accent coming back.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It actually it
Mhm.
actually, like, now I feel like I'm speaking in my natural tongue, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
because it feels easier.
Mhm.
Um, but but to what you're saying is exactly what the experience was, and it changed the course of my educational experience from that
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
Um, where, yeah, I went through struggling with reading and so forth, and eventually just gave up and checked out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? By middle school, I was checked out.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. I was like, yeah, this ain't never gonna happen.
Mhm.
So, what you know what I'm saying? Teachers ain't gonna help me. Nobody's gonna do nothing, whatever.
Yeah, and I think that part of it and what we see in a lot of these males, black males, you know, even the ones who did not go through the special education program, they
Mhm.
weren't pushed to make good grades.
Mhm.
It's not
Mhm.
like that. And when we're talking about, young girls are pushed to make good grades. You know what I mean? You're because part of the identity, you're not a good little girl if you don't make good grades. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
For boys, it was, oh, you're not a good little boy if you don't play sports.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, there wasn't a real emphasis on grades because at the end of the day, it was like, oh, hey man, when you graduate, you can go get this good paying job over at the factory. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what happened? Them jobs was gone,
Yeah.
disappearing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it left a lot of black males in limbo. Again, all these some of these black males who were pushed through school, told not to get good grades. They again struggle if they try to go to college, you know what I mean, or
Mhm.
secondary education, you know what I'm saying? The dropout rates for black males are still higher than black females, really higher than any other group. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We start college, but we don't finish it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? A lot of it stems through because we are telling black boys not to have good, we not to focus on it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and even so, I still think that that is leads to the individualism, and because it also kind of reinforces that they're on their own. You know what I mean? But it also leaves them vulnerable to adopt the individualism of whiteness. Whiteness is individualistic. You know what I'm saying? I got this book called White Identity Politics, right? And
Mm.
it basically talk about like how basically how white people vote, right? People think white people vote as a group. They don't.
Mm.
They vote as individuals. You know what I mean? Now they'll speak on issues as a group, right?
Mhm.
So, a majority of white people live in the middle of the country. They go to places that are majority white. They go to churches. They go to organizations. They will have conversations. If you ever listen to conservative radio, it's like listening
Mhm.
to conservative radio. They don't have the kind of talk that black or other ethnic groups have, you know what I mean, about
Mhm.
ethnicity and growing up in America. And what happens is that, excuse me, when it's time for them to do something like go and vote, well, they're voting as an individual, you know what I mean? But they also are recognizing their power. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So what happened, I believe, with what has happened with black males, I got another book over there. It's called When Work Disappears. I should have grabbed that, but
Mm.
in that book, it talks about how black males, when black males start working at factory jobs or working in these settings around white males, that's where the adoption of the identity begins. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Or they can adopt a lot of the ideas and identity, because at the end of the day, they're outnumbered, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so, I say this all the time, like white folks, they can talk about politics all day long at work. If
Mhm.
you are black or a woman or a part of another ethnic group, you start talking about politics. Hey, we don't talk about politics here at work. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But yet, look at the makeup of unions. You know what I mean? Anyway, unions is politics. But like,
Yeah.
but what happens is black males begin to adopt this identity, and if you listen to some black males from a certain economic background and they have a certain jobs, if they're truckers, if they're blue collar workers, they will have some of the same white grievances.
Mhm. Mhm.
They will have a lot of the same, what I mean, same talking points. It just sounds a little different. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
just sounds different. They just take the black off of it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They'll have the same grievances against women. They'll have the same grievances against, what I mean, women showing up in the workforce, women, you know what I mean, women showing up in positions of power. I mean, look at all the red pill stuff that's going on YouTube.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
A lot of this came up because a lot of black men was losing their jobs during the 2020. So they just latched on to the easiest subject to talk about, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Which would bring them money, you know what I'm saying? Which is downgrading and talking about women, you know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, that are immigrants.
that or immigrants, right? Like it is a lot of the same white grievance. Like, they adopt a lot of the same language, you know what I mean? I remember I remember and I'll land my plane here, but like I remember driving into work, listening to conservative radio, this black dude called up about how black people vote and this, that, and the third. And he was saying, black people, they just black people vote, for the Democrat Party because that's how they was raised, and you get told to vote for Democrats and blah 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 blah. Man, I called that radio show. I said, hey man, I don't know what that dude talking about, but he don't know what the heck he talking about. Like, I understand he comes from a certain generation that believes that, but black people, we vote based on our experience. You know what I'm saying? It's just like white folks, majority of white folks vote based on their power.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how they vote. They vote based on power, based on resources. You know what I'm saying? And that's how they vote. And
yeah.
black people do the same thing. If you look up, if people do research on what's called the new left that happened in the 50s and the 60s, and this is where black people kind of gravitate more toward the Democrat Party, and the switch happens. You know what
Mhm, mhm.
I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, man, because I was listening to the same a similar conversation of a black gentleman calling up, when they were talking about the Obama conversation, and this black gentleman was basically saying that he was okay with deportation,
So,
right?
geez.
And again, you're talking about a white grievance issue,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Um, because who in their right mind in America believes that their jobs are being taken away by immigrants when me personally, I don't even work around them. You know what I'm saying? Like it is the craziest thing in the world. And just because I see, what people would consider as immigrants would be, what I'm saying, Mexicans working and building houses, it didn't mean that they're immigrants, right?
Right. Exactly. Right.
You don't know their status.
Right.
So you don't assume that the Cuban is an immigrant. You don't assume that the Canadian is an immigrant. You don't like
The
it
German,
is
there's
the
people from Germany
German.
over here that they just come over here and they
Yeah,
stay.
yeah, yeah. They
It's
come
crazy.
over for a work visa and they stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same as the Canadians.
Yeah. I don't mean to interrupt you, bro. But when I work in Germany, my German coworkers, they were always talking about this. So the US has a lottery system. Did you know this? So
No,
they
I
have a
did not.
they have a lottery system in which people, well, this was I'm speaking of Germany. So Germans would apply in order to get dual citizenship. So they can be
Mhm,
American citizen and a German citizen. and there's a lottery that gets picked. Yeah, and people get picked. Yeah, and so
Mm.
so the Germans at the time was like talking about all his cousins that he has here and where they live at, and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, they just go over there and stay. Nobody
Mm.
bothers them. I like you. There's a reason, Mario.
Yeah.
There's a reason nobody bother him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, I just find it funny in the immigration talks. My bad.
No, no, but this is the issue, right? This is the issue of the patriarchy. This is the issue of following the myth of the patriarchy
Right.
as a black man, right?
Mm.
You
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that they are planning to, like, there's no place for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And in every turn, there is someone else that will fill where you won't go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not their fault. You know what I'm saying? Like immigration and all that other stuff. That's not nobody's fault. That's just how the system works.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you as a black man, why you not getting certification
Right.
to compete for that job?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not taking your business ideas and then finding a way that you can possibly turn it into a business?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that black people don't have venture capitalists?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Why is it only like 3 venture capitalists in the whole United States that are black ran?
I always wonder why, like Atlanta, with all them black people, why ain't you turning? Well, why is there not a Black Wall Street? Like you should be able to set up a Black Wall Street where black people there can invest in them black companies and stuff. You got all them black people there, man.
We should
I
we
don't think
should
outside
we
that.
should have something just like what's that black rock.
Mm-hmm.
We like collectively, but the problem is in our community, and we talked about this before, the same people that are up top, they are falling for the patriarchy as well. So
Mm-hmm.
they need people under them to make more cash.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody underneath is falling for the myth as well, but they're hoping that they're the ones that could be on top one day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all a myth.
Yeah.
It's all a myth because at the end of the day, we are 13% the population, and I would like to say that we are more or less around 17,
I always
18%.
say 17. It's like 17,
It,
18.
yeah, yeah. Um, because it's well known, it's well documented that we don't take the census
We don't
in
take
a
this.
very, very high rate. So I would assume that at the least that we are missing at least 5% of the population
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, the games that we are playing in the black community is the reason why we don't see growth.
Mm-hmm.
We struggle because we're trying to play the same game in the same way that another culture is playing.
Right. Exactly. And they control all the power, right? They control the power, the resources. And I was telling the individuals like, yeah, man, had a conversation a few weeks ago, talking about, politics, of course. And like, yeah, and until black people vote at 70%, like every election, you're not gonna see any change, you know what I'm saying? But like I think that there are, I always say this, man, that there are black people, particularly black males, you know what I mean? And I have to say this, but because it's unfortunate, but a lot of these black males do come from the church, the black church.
Mm-hmm.
They want to set up the same thing white males have. They want to set up within the black community, within black culture, the same patriarchy that white males have. You know what I'm saying? And the unfortunate thing is that that is not how we've operated. we right, we haven't operated with a Eurocentric mindset. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because patriarchy, we need to understand something. Patriarchy is Eurocentric. Patriarchy comes from Greek society and how Greek society was set up. Greek society was set up overwhelmingly males. And then as you get into the 1700s, mid 1700s, of course, you're having all these revolutions, most notably like French Revolution, and of course, American Revolution, and they adopt Greek and Roman beliefs in government, and part of that was patriarchy. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, when you have people who are taken out of Africa and moved across the Atlantic, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Um, we our how our family structure and community structure was, we needed women and men to cooperate, women and men to work together. There wasn't these roles, you know what I mean? Like men
Mm.
on top, women on the bottom. Like, no, no, we needed both.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, what's happening is that there are black males who do want what white males have, and that's power, but
Mhm.
you ain't gonna get it. You're not
Right.
gonna get it because, again, one thing me and you talked about was like, because we still maintain the idea that black people can have their own agency. A lot of our black daughters are being raised by black men for them to have their own agency.
Yeah.
So if you are in a household where you don't have a strong male figure, number one, and number two, if that male figure is absent and they run into one of these daughters out here, there's going to be that got raised in a household that say, hey, you are going to have your own agency. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have a problem, black male. You're
Yeah.
going to have a problem until you understand that cooperation is the key. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Cooperation.
Right, right. In the adverse, we do the opposite for our boys, right? We
In,
we
in,
we
some,
co- we
in some ways,
we coddle them.
yeah,
Um, yeah, in many ways, like we push our girls over pushing our boys.
hmm
In our culture.
hmm
Um, and then we tend well, what's happening is now we're dealing with what that has uh you know fruited off the tree.
hmm
To say this, like the truth of the matter is, we never pushed our boys to full excellence,
hmm
simply because we knew that society itself, when the boys got out there, were facing a more challenging society.
hmm
So we tried to make the road emotionally easier for them, and so on and so on. When our girls, we were just like, keep on going,
Right,
like
right, right.
achieve the most that you can achieve,
And
and
that's because, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off, bro. But
you're
and
good.
I think that's because we recognize where black women are in society. Like, hey, you're starting off at the bottom.
Yeah,
You are going to have to achieve and push and do all these things and break glass ceilings. You are going to have to do all these things. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I think that we recognize partially where our black boys were going to start at. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
We just didn't tell them that they still need to break glass ceilings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and on top of that, being honest with them,
hmm
right? Just telling them to show them what is integrity,
hmm
what is true integrity.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? Like if you doing something wrong, yeah, I'm not going to sit back and be like, well, we'll figure it out. There, you know what I'm saying, Jamarcus, we will figure it out.
hmm
No, hey, Jamarcus, look, come here. Look, I understand your point, right? And you were saying that you felt like someone was doing something wrong to you, but what I'm going to tell you is where you can make adjustments
hmm
on different ways that you can approach this situation whenever you see it. And we never talk to our boys that way.
My bad. Hold on. Something just popped in my popped in my brain. Um, yeah, man. I'm reading this book by Bell Hooks. Black men
Mhm,
should read Bell Hooks. It's
mm,
called The Will to Change. Black men should read that. And it's called, I don't know what that meant. Oh, anyway, I don't know what them balloons were about. But like, black men need to read Bell Hooks. It's called A Will to Change. And in it, she talks about masculinity. You know what I'm saying? And part of it, she recognizes that black males adopted white masculinity.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? White masculinity is violence. We know
mhm.
this, right? We know white masculinity is about violence because, I mean, look on the continent of Europe, they're always been at war, right?
Yeah.
And it's not women who are causing these wars, right?
Mhm,
There are no wars on the face of this planet started by a woman ever.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? And so in the household, up until the point where I'm reading where I'm at right now. So she's basically talking about her father and what it meant, you know what I mean? Her father grew up in a world that discredit his masculinity, you know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Especially white people, right? So white males, right? Try to emasculate black males. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? And so the only time black men had masculine, you know what I mean, their masculine was when they came home. Well, they didn't put it in many ways, it didn't get put into a positive, manner like you were explaining. Hey, let me talk to you, any rule, any issues, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, it's do as I say, not as I do type mentality, you know what I'm saying? Which I as a father have been perpetuated within my own family. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah,
saying?
same here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so, this idea of masculinity and what it did not come from, what I mean, within our ethnic group. It was pushed onto us.
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying? In a lot of ways, and of course, it goes back to slavery and the plantation. So we have to unlearn white supremacy. We have to unlearn patriarchy. You know what I'm saying? In order for us to have a healthy um, ideas of what masculinity is. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Being okay, telling somebody, hey, it's okay to cry. You know what I mean? It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to prioritize your feelings. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like your feelings matter. And I think that what has happened, particularly generation after generation after generation with our black boys, is the reason we don't push grades is because we tell black boys that they are only valued by what they do, right? You're only valued if you can show that you have strength, so you protect the family. You're only
mhm,
valued if you make money. You know what I mean?
mhm.
You're only valued if you can fix the car, you could change the tire. You're only valued in these aspects, right?
Yeah.
When your value is your humanness, that's your value. You know what I mean? How you think, how you feel, you know what I'm saying? And in many ways, we have also pushed that onto our daughters too, because of their where they start off in society. We tell black, I think Brown Jackson talked about, her parents telling her, hey, you already got two strikes.
Mhm,
Black and
mhm,
you a woman. That's already two. And that is a common phrase within the black community, right? Hey, look, we tell our girls, right? Hey, you already got two strikes. You black and you a woman. You know what
mhm,
I'm saying? And we push that on them, you know what I'm saying? And so they come up with a certain mentality, you know what I mean? And then our black boys come up with a certain mentality. And then at the end of the day, it is about our views on patriarchy, and we have to get rid of patriarchy. We really have to get rid of patriarchy. We have to get rid of these roles. We have to get rid of Eurocentric thinking. When it comes to marriage, when it comes to togetherness. You know what I'm saying? And come back to the group. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man, and really get back to, the village concept.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, trying to help each other achieve our goal,
Hmm.
because that's the only way you're gonna get there.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because what what black men don't realize is white men wouldn't have been in that position if it wasn't for white women.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like in every aspect, when when the white male, even though that he victimized the white woman the same way he victimized everyone else, um, she still helped.
Yeah, crazy.
Like,
I'm reading about. I'm sorry, bro.
no, you good, man. The thick book. Oh, Reagan land. Look,
Hold on.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So there was a new left movement. So when I talked about the new left, there was a new right movement. So the new right
Hmm.
movement was basically conservative. Hey, we're conservative. We're against equal rights. We're against women having rights. And it was white women who were leading this charge. You know what I mean? Even though they were complaining about their position in society, they were complaining about not having money, complaining that they couldn't help their family out because their husbands were going through, of course, high unemployment, losing their jobs, and women wanted to work and things of that nature. You know what I mean? So they wanted to work too. But then they're like, oh no, these other people are going to benefit. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So then it becomes the othering of people. And this is what the Republican Party is today. It is about othering people. And that is what patriarchy is about. Patriarchy really is about othering people. How can I other you?
Yeah,
Because if I can other you, you know what I'm saying? And I always say this, man, if I can define your condition, I can also define your oppression. I can
correct.
I can figure out what I can take away from you. You know what I'm saying? And make you give you less rights, less human existence. You know what I'm saying? Black men who participate in the patriarchy, they don't understand, you know what I mean, that you are taking away your people's rights. You are taking away their humanness, their human existence, you know what I mean? But anyway, in the Reagan land, it like details out how like white women supported white men, even though they were losing rights, right? The Equal Rights Amendment. They wanted to sign the Equal Rights Amendment, make it an amendment in the Constitution where women could
Mhm.
receive equal pay. In
Mhm.
the 70s, it was like 72, 76, something like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? White white women led a charge to get other white women to write their congressmen, organize to not get that amendment passed.
And
Crazy.
and today, because we have access to the internet, um,
Mhm.
and information a lot quicker, this is what you see in that a portion of white women. I still think they're gonna still vote for Trump at about
Oh,
30%.
yeah. Oh, it's gonna be high. It's gonna be like at least 50%. It's gonna be at least 50.
Mm, yeah, I hear you. But last time his last two elections, it was at 50+%. So
Mhm.
so if that happens again, that simply means those white women that were spending time on TikTok and so forth and talking about that they should have listened to black women and blah blah blah. That means it was false.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But what my synopsis um, is that it's going to be somewhere between uh 30 and 40,
Mhm.
somewhere in that ballpark. Um, um, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is simply because a lot of these white women started talking about this movement when Reagan
Mhm.
was came along, because they started to find out that white men were using white women to basically other groups as white women was losing their rights. So Roe v. Wade happened, and they realized it was their husbands and their uncles and grandfathers that was taking away their rights.
Mm-hmm.
And it threw on a light bulb through some of them
Yeah.
that they realized, like, oh, so it's not the Mexican, it's not the black person, it's not this person that's doing XYZ to me to make sure that I don't have equality.
Yeah.
It's you.
It's Jimbo.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
And
Yeah. Man.
yeah,
Right,
because
yeah.
we're going to see, we're going to see that again, the white male vote is probably going to be split
Oh,
in this country. It's going to be split.
yeah, but it's gonna be like 60, 40.
Well, yeah, when I say split, it's still gonna be in the favor of of
The
um,
Republicans.
Republicans,
Yeah.
but it's to a point that at the end of the day, there was some peel off,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but again, that's only because they are starting to see the same thing that the same white men that are poor and so forth, and that started to see that, oh, it's you, other white men, that are affecting me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You help shift over the jobs back in the 80s. You sit back and help cut the wages when the economy was starting to do well, and then sent the jobs again when the market crashed. Like, you did this.
Right.
You helped the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
started to see a lot of these windfalls. And again, what we are seeing in our community is the black males not paying attention to the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, they're not paying attention. They're looking at again white grievance, right? So their grievance is different because again, um, they've been affected by different things, and they're watching women pass them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They are watching women pass, and they're like, "What happened?" And again, I remember, man, I was in a barbershop a few weeks ago, and I said this about how there were individuals. Maybe I wasn't at the barbershop. No, somewhere else. But anyway, um, uh, that there are these men who are watching these women past them, and again, part of the problem was old heads, right? Old heads back in the day, you know what I mean? Because we the old heads now, but old heads back in the
Mm-hmm.
day who was like trying to tell young, hey, young blood, hey, don't go to college, man. You don't need none of that. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to go do that. Like keeping trying to suppress black boys and keep black
Mm-hmm.
boys down. You know what I'm saying? So black boys don't suppress them. You know what I'm saying? And I think, I think in some of these instances, it occurred in some of these folks' homes who had black dads, you know what I mean, that was telling their sons, you know what I mean?
I,
"Hey,
I,
you gonna go to the military, you're gonna go to the
yeah,
military,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you going
But I
yeah.
thought society um helped push them to that narrative. Um,
Yes, in some in some ways society did, but in other ways, I think that they did not want to see their sons do better than them. In some of them,
in some, yeah, in
yeah,
some instance, that I'm
yeah,
pretty sure that was
yeah,
a psychological barrier, right?
right,
But
right, right.
but you're talking about Nixon union busting, right? And then you're
Mhm.
talking about Reagan coming along, union busting again, and the ones who were affected the most were black men
We're
in
black men, yeah, because
in
there
both.
weren't that many black men in the unions. The unions were racist even during Nixon, so they were still keeping black men out. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but when you got into places like Pittsburgh and
Mhm.
places like that, they had a high,
Yeah,
higher
right, yeah.
black. You know what I'm saying? So
Longshoremen. had high
Yes,
black, yeah,
yes.
longshoremen had high black, union rates and things of that nature. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there
So
was
what
that.
started to happen was when the union busting happened, they were firing the black people first.
Right, yeah, mhm,
And
mhm,
and then you started seeing them when they started hiring back more Italian and
mhm,
so on and so on and
mhm,
so on.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah, the group that came after 1965, people don't talk about that group. They don't talk about
yeah,
the European immigrant group that came after 1965, like,
yes,
who were
yes.
taking who were really taking black people
Who were
jobs.
really taking black jobs.
They were
You know
taking black jobs, bro.
s so what Trump and JD Vance, like, it's not true in the moment, but it did happen sometime in history.
And yeah, mhm,
You know what I'm saying? And if black men understood all of this, the very people like the JD Vance, and Trump were the ones who were helping this to happen.
mhm, mhm.
Because if you understood what Trump was doing when he was building the towers, he wasn't looking for no black contractor.
Right, exactly. Mhm,
He wasn't looking for contractors who hire primarily black people.
mhm.
That's not what he was looking for.
No.
JD Vance right now owns an app that's called Acres and something, uh, uh, that literally is trying to take farmland
Mhm,
from foreclosed African Americans
mhm.
because they're being taken advantage of from our of the government process because black farmers don't get the loans and so forth like the white counterparts and so on and so on. And this is why Trump, when he gave the multi-billion dollars or whatever, and only
Arms.
less than 0.3% went to black farmers, like, this is why he did that.
Yeah. But more importantly, like that money he gave to the big farms, they took white farms.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
they took the white smaller farms. So those smaller farms, those white farm owners who couldn't pay back their loans,
Yeah,
now those big farms who had money, government money from Trump, they went and bought those lands up.
but
But then
but
then
this
they went and blamed it on black people. Like
yeah,
some of them.
but this is along the lines of our whole conversation, right?
Mhm,
That some of these the white men look for a scapegoat, but not realizing it's the adjacent white man that's next to them
mhm.
that's actually doing it. When it happens to the black man, he believes that it's the darn Mexican.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? When it's all simply another white man,
It's
someone
just
who actually has the power.
right. Right. Because like again, when Trump was held to the fire to explain black jobs, what black jobs are you talking about that these immigrants are taking?
Yeah,
What black? Because it ain't doctors, it ain't
yeah.
CEOs, it
No,
ain't CEOs of banks. It's not,
no.
you know what I mean? It's not these high prominent jobs, which people who are like of Indian descent, or you know what I'm saying, or
Yeah,
maybe they're Nigerian. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them people already come over here with degrees and
yes,
money. And so they get these high earning jobs. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? But nah, those black jobs he's talking about working at McDonald's. They're low wage jobs.
yes,
They are
yes,
low wage jobs that black people are leaving anyway after the
yes,
pandemic.
yes,
Like, what is we talking about?
yeah,
What is we
yeah,
and then you have black men who trying to lead this charge, or you know what I mean? Because where I first heard this was from man, I don't even want to say his name, man, because I don't want to, you know what I mean? But it was Tariq Nasheed. This is
yeah,
where I originally heard this from. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what black jobs is this man talking about? What immigrants is taking? What job? And Tariq, he would never specify what jobs. Never. He would just say immigrants are taking these black jobs. What jobs are you talking about?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Majority of black people work for the government. So what are you talking
yeah,
about? What
yeah,
what are you talking about? What jobs are we talking? You're not talking hospitality,
yeah,
low wage job, working in
yeah,
retail, low wage job. Well, what are we talking about?
yeah.
Most definitely, black people ain't working out and ain't building no homes and construction. That
Right. Yeah,
Like what are we talking about, man? And part of patriarchy is convincing, you know what I mean, the other males that their problems and issues, it doesn't stem from the ones that are in power, right? So when people started, when the Greeks, people in the Greek society started complaining, you know what I mean, they kind of like, this is the reason why they come up with the gladiator games and the
Mhm.
Olympics,
Mhm.
keep them distracted, because
Yeah.
they were starting to protest. There was starting to be riots and things of that nature. Like, oh, we need to get them to focus on something else.
Yeah.
I mean,
They also went after what we now consider LGBTQ
right,
um during the Roman um down the
mhm,
first signs of the downfall
right,
of
right, right. First time, and
um
yeah,
yeah,
and
and then immigrants after.
Immigrants after the people who are already in society, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Because it did have a high immigrant society, you know.
Mhm.
Some historians say that that's why, Rome burned. But yeah, because you had
Yeah,
a
yeah.
group of people who didn't care, you know what I mean, whether Rome burned, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A high group of people, but again, they were the low wage workforce.
Yes.
They were your low wage workforce. You know what I'm saying? Because the patriarchy said that, all the resources need to be taken from the lower group and transferred up to the upper class and upper group. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully the upper class and the upper group would come with some sort of way to make society better and equal for everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
know that don't even happen here in America. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the same concepts that we've seen is literally from most Roman era. We're starting to see the same concepts pop up again.
Mhm,
Lowering taxes for wealthier,
mhm,
whatever, than raising taxes on all poor, working class, and so forth, and
mhm.
it's just perpetuating more poverty, and
Right.
so on and so on. So again, I really would like to express to black men is, man, really be open to like learning something different and new, because nothing is technically really new.
Right. Mhm, mm,
um it's usually the same tactics, it's usually they probably go about it a slightly different,
mhm.
but it's usually the same way that they go to go against you, black man, like really, because this fight is is to really protect your black family, right? um And if you don't understand that, because your black family or your black woman is the one who will keep you safe.
Yeah,
You
and
know what
that's
I'm saying?
good.
Like, and people have to understand that if it will be your moms and your aunts and your granny that will sit back and be on the front lines to sit back and protect a black man, just like Black Lives Matter. I have to say that, just like all black protests when all black boys and black men got killed, there was
During the
black
civil
women that
rights
showed up.
movement, it was black women.
Civil rights movement, so on and so on. It was
Yeah.
always black women that sat back and showed up on the behalf of black men.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Black men didn't even show up for black men.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have to understand that, and
Yeah.
and we have to stop allowing people of means, it's like these rich people,
Mhm.
in a sense of nepo babies and so forth. Like, we have to stop allowing them to control the narrative, because it's no way that you would look at a Trump, a JD Vance, or someone of that ilk and say, "Oh yeah, that guy that sat back and sold off people's jobs to a foreign adversary to be able to make money. Yeah, that's my guy."
Mhm.
That's like, JD Vance is not the guy that I would sit back and say I would want for my black son.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And I darn sure wouldn't want my son to imitate a Trump.
Mhm.
And we have to understand that. And again, like, people hear that and they think like, oh, you just hate Trump. Look, I don't even know that man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
don't know that man.
To hate them
So
like that.
to hate him.
Hmm.
But what I know is that his intention, his intentions are are affecting people
Hmm.
and not in a positive manner.
Hmm.
Because I can look and I can see, I can hear what's happening around me. And whenever he's in the midst of the conversation, it is some kind of danger, it is some kind of a confusion, it's some kind of problem.
Hmm.
And we have to understand, man, that we have to get out of our own way. Black men, we have to get out of our own way.
Hmm.
We cannot continue to support something that will affect our family line. Because eventually, even if you project yourself financially upward, you still will have to come back and come help the very family that you sat back and voted against to
Voted against. Yeah, buddy.
you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like we have to understand that. The number one reason why people with college degrees in the black community do not get ahead economically is because they help other family members.
Hmm.
And if you don't understand that statistic, it's because 9 times out of 10, the person who end up getting the money vote against the very things that the rest of her family would probably need.
Hmm.
We can't keep on doing
Yeah.
because we can't survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, man. It is a yeah, man. Yeah, man, we can end it on that, man.
Yeah,
I'll say, like, yeah, black men need to understand that, our power is within our collectivism. Our power is together. And we are powerful when we have our women. We are powerful when our women are by our side. We are powerful when we support our women. We are powerful when we show up in those rooms with our women who have showed up time and time again with us. You know what I'm saying? And to sit back
Ashe,
here,
Ashe.
yeah, and to sit back here and even justify in your brain that the best position for black people is to do nothing. That's not a position of power. It's not a position of anything. Doing nothing, you're not helping by doing nothing. There are over 100 million people every election that do not vote. Again, I'm reading this book in Reagan land. You know what I mean? Where during a presidential election, you had 39% of the country that voted.
Mm,
Crazy. So you not voting, you're not doing something. You know what I mean? You're not being this pariah. You're not being this, oh man, I'm gonna stand out. No, I think that I think me personally, when you take the position that you are going to go against black women, you are being a coward. You're being weak. You know what I mean? And we are back at a point where you need to stand up. I don't know why them balloons happen. I don't know what's going on. But you know, um, you know, you know, um, and I hate to use such strong language, but the time to be strong is now. The time to be strong is now. And you know what I mean? And we can't, I don't know what I'm saying for these balloons to happen. But anyway, the time for us, to be together is now. The time for us to grow. The time for us to the strive and fly is now. But we can't do it. You know what I mean? If we don't have all of us, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not of the belief that I need to save all black people. I'm sorry. I don't. Some of y'all weigh us down. Some of y'all are cutting holes in our sails.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And we can't move forward. You know what I mean? So I am not of that belief, but I would say if any black man listen to this and they get to this point, and they're on the fence, like, hey, don't be on the fence, jump over it, jump on our side. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. You had anything else to add, bro?
I'll end it like this. Off the same note that you're saying. Look, man, I got the same belief as the what's the sister name? That was she was saving the slaves and so forth.
You talking about Harry Tubman?
Harriet Tubman.
Mhm.
Hey, man, sometimes you got to sit back and like ones that ain't with us. You gotta push them aside. Gotta
Mhm.
push them aside because at the end of the day, these are the people that will be the destruction of us.
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
is not hyperbole. Like, they will be the destruction of us because we are only 13 to 17% of this country. And if you don't understand how power works, that at the end of the day, we will be affected. And you wonder why some of the communities that a lot of black people live in are being polluted and so forth, so forth. That like all of this stuff matters and it happens because there are some people that are not for us.
Yeah. Yeah, man. On that note, man, we out.